Everyone in P4, it's Mr. Hammonds here again. Again, we're looking at Thursday's history in our literacy pack. I hope you've already watched the presentation on Marco Polo. If you haven't done so, please watch that first. It's not strictly necessary for this week's homework, but it would probably help give you some background, and certainly make you more aware about the distances we're talking about when it comes to the Silk Road. So this week for history, it's a fairly quick and easy sort of exercise. You'll have you'll see in front of you a map of the Silk Road around about the year 1000 or 1200, and it's got, as you can see, a big long red line that branches off into a couple of different branches, and a whole bunch of cities that are scattered along the line there as well. Now, if you remember, traders used to sort of travel, used up maybe to the next city or maybe 2 or 3 cities up, and then they'd do some trading, and then they'd go back to their home. Very few traders would travel the entire distance of the Silk Road because, as you're already aware from watching that Marco Polo presentation, it could take up to 4 years, sometimes 5 years, to travel that far the entire way. And not to mention you need to keep trading and try to eat and feed yourself all that distance as well. So the whole bunch of cities there, as you can see. Now, I would like you to recreate that Silk Road map. On the next page, you'll see, there we go, you'll see a blank map of Asia. If you can see my little wavy hand there, there's Africa down here, there's Europe over here, and there's the Middle East in this area around here. You'll also see India there, Indonesia down here, and China is over here in Asia as well. Now, you don't need to worry about naming all those countries, although you can if you want to, that's fine. But what I do want you to do is to try to, as best as you can, copy that red line, or those red lines, I should say, onto that map. Now, I'm not expecting it to be exactly correct. As we discussed a couple of weeks ago when we had a look at the Silk Road in history, the Silk Road wasn't just one road, and it wasn't clearly defined. That means the road used to change a lot over many years the Silk Road was operating. So there wasn't just one single road that, that's it. Nowhere else could be the Silk Road. No other cities were on it. No, that's not correct. Basically, the Silk Road changed a lot over the years, so the actual length and distance of the road would change as well, and certainly the directions it travelled in. So we're going to use this as a general sort of idea of the Silk Road and the places it connected. If you can copy as best you can that sort of red line or those red lines that covered the map, and then I want you to mark out a few cities. Not all of them, just a few. So a little dot and then the name of the city if you can fit it on. So we've got Xi'an, which is also spelled Xi'an. So it can be spelled with the X or the S. It's the same place. Samarkand, Antioch, and Constantinople. Oh, I got tongue-tied there. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 cities. 5 cities to mark on that big long red line. You'll notice also, if you've been using that Traveling the Silk Road app, which is really cool, that they're cities that actually feature in the map. So there's only 1 or 2 extra. I think they had Baghdad in the app as well. Don't worry about Baghdad in this one. Just worry about those cities that I've listed there. By all means, copy this particular map. You'll find the cities on that line there as well. But if you've done your own research and found a better map or a clearer map that you want to copy, that's fine as well. Okay, so as long as I can see that you've done some research on the Silk Road, I'm going to be happy anyway. So copy out that map, easy peasy. Then on the last page, we have what's that called? A Venn diagram, yes. So the Venn diagram, in this case, we're looking at early and modern transport. So modern transport, we know what that is. We see it every day. We see airplanes in the sky, maybe not so many at the moment, but they're still there. Airplanes in the sky, container ships, cars. I mean, there are lots of them. I'm not going to give you all of them, but there are lots of them. You see them every day. They obviously go in the present circle there. Because all the way back in the 12th century when the Silk Road was operating, they didn't have all that machinery. They certainly had carriages, and they also used all sorts of different animals as well. I want you to think very carefully about what sort of animals might have travelled the Silk Road with people and help carry things. And also in between, there are the forms of transport that we still both use today. So not only did they use it all the way back in the 12th century, but we use it right now. I've listed a few examples there already, as you can see. So under the 12th century, I wrote carriage. Yeah, I know we use carriages these days, but not very often. Usually they're just for a bit of fun for tourists. So we're not really talking about something we use on a daily basis. So carriage is definitely an old form of transport. Present day, aeroplanes. Yes, use them a lot these days, but back then they weren't even invented. So of course, in the present we have aeroplanes, but not in the past. Now, in the middle section, you should be well aware of how Venn diagrams work now. So the middle section is words that belong in both. And I put walking because guess what? People back in the 12th century walked, and I'm pretty sure people walk now as well. So I'll put that in the middle there. 3 examples to get you started. List as many as you can think of. You might want to do a little bit of extra research on the Silk Road to get some extra ideas and see how much of that Venn diagram you can fill in. So I'm going to wish you best of luck with that. That's all for history this week. So I hope you enjoy yourself. And I'll catch up with you again next week when we're going to have a little look at silkworms. Okay. Take care, everyone.